and welcome to the Lezlie Show. Thank you for tuning in today, and we're going to have a great time. Today we're going to be talking about baseball, and I have a baseball star for you guys to watch today. Woo! But before we get into that, I have to tell you about my weekend. I just flew back from Chicago, my hometown. And you guys heard about all these people getting kicked off the airplanes, right? Well, I'm sitting on this airplane drinking my glass of wine when these people in front of me start making out. And they're about 70 years old. Like, come on, what's going on here? My seat keeps going back and my wine drops over. Then my food starts dropping over. I told the stewardess, I said, these people need to be kicked off this airplane. I can't even watch a movie or anything. Anyway, finally the airplane stopped, and I looked at the guy and I said, surely you guys aren't married with that kind of passion. And he goes, yeah, I've been married for 42 years. And she goes, yeah, but not to each other. What is this world coming to? So I rushed in here. I was running like a mad woman as usual. And I go in the bathroom and I'm sitting in the stall, right? And this lady next to me goes, hello? I said, hello? And she goes, how you doing? And I said, I'm fine. And she goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm sitting here. And she goes, hey, just a minute, Linda, let me call you back. Every time I ask you a question, this nut next to me in the stall answers the question. Anyway, back to baseball again. We are going to get in the mood with some baseball, with some peanuts and Cracker Jack. Woo! And I have a fabulous singer for you guys to watch today. She sings at all the different car shows. She sings at the rodeos with 12,000 people there. She's been at the Radisson singing in my showcase of talent. So let's give a nice welcome to Madam Jubilee Espinoza. Woo!
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever come back, 'cause it's root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame, 'cause it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
One more time. Woo! I love this song. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back, 'cause it's root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame, 'cause it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out of the old ball game. Thank you, Malania. Well, are you ready for our special guest today, Mr. Bryn Smith? He has played for the Colorado Rockies, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Montreal Expos. So let's give a nice welcome to Mr. Bryn Smith. Well, thanks for being here today, Bryn.
Sure, my pleasure.
All
Thanks for
right.
having me.
Thank you. Have a seat. Well, do you like to be called Bryn or Smitty?
Smitty's, I'm used to Smitty.
Smitty, okay, you got it. Well, I've got to tell you a little about myself. I have a daughter, and she's always been into clocks and radios. You'd ask her what time it is, and she'd tell you how the clock was built. This was at 1 and 2 years old. So, of course, she's 26. What do you think she does for a living? She's an electrical engineer.
There you go.
So my first question is, did you know as like a little kid that you wanted to be into baseball? Like, did you know this at 1 or 2, or when did you discover that you really like baseball?
I think just watching probably at 8 years old is when I started playing. And basically I would go down to the school, kind of hang out and watch the other guys play. And then as I got older, Carl Barbatini gave me my first glove, and that kind of started it. Did I want to be a Major League Baseball player? Not yet. I think I was just being a kid playing a game that I loved to play and had fun playing. And later on down the road, it was something that I really wanted to do.
Okay, so your first professional game, was that with the Montreal Expos?
Yes, well, I signed originally with the Orioles out of Hancock College, and then I got traded in 1977 to the Expos. My first major league debut was with the Montreal Expos in 1981. And then I had 8 years there, and then went to St. Louis as a free agent for 3 years, and then ended up in Colorado for my last year, but was able to be a part of an expansion team, a brand new organization, which was a lot of fun.
So which team was your favorite?
Well, I think Montreal, because I spent so many years there, met and played with some great Hall of Famers, and just we were really, as they call, a family. Having played in Canada and it being different, I think the team was a lot closer because we were somewhat in a foreign country. But St. Louis was great because it was the history and the Cardinals, and I enjoyed my 3 years there. Again, an honor to play for a great organization. But I say Montreal is probably the best one.
Are they still together, the Montreal Expos?
Montreal Expos are now the Washington Nationals.
Oh, they are?
And
okay.
A few years back, I don't know the date, but they sold the Expos out of Montreal, and then they moved the franchise into Washington, D.C. But I went back a few years back to go up for a reunion thing, and they still love baseball up there. They still want baseball up there. So there's a group that are trying to get it back up there. But it's going to be a tough one.
Okay. Well, what did you think was the most challenging thing about baseball?
Probably the travel, being away from your family. People really don't realize that it's not just play a game and go on. It's an 8-month season, and you're getting on an airplane at 12 o'clock midnight to travel to another city. And you show up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then you're having to play a game that night. I think that's probably the biggest adjustment that I had to make was the travel. Always, there's no sick days, so you had to be somewhere every day, and it was a long, grueling process. 162 games over 8 months period it's a good grind.
Oh my goodness! And now I heard that you played for 13 years altogether. Is that right?
I did, yes. I finished my career in Colorado. I was fortunate enough to pitch opening day in Mile High Stadium in front of 81,000 people.
Oh my!
And my claim to fame, I guess, I have the first win in the history of the Colorado Rockies. So I'm very proud of that, and also very honored to be a part of that. But yeah, I never thought from day one that I would be having a 13-year career in the major leagues. I just played baseball because I loved to play baseball. I wasn't really worried about how much money I was making. When I signed, I was 19 years old and was able to leave Santa Maria and go to Miami Beach, Florida for spring training. So that was an exciting thrill, but that kind of started my career. I spent 7 years in the minor league, so basically played baseball for 20 years.
Oh my goodness. Well, do you miss playing professional baseball? I
miss the competition. I every day was a great day at a ballpark. Again, I had fun every day that I went, even though some days were better than others. But I miss the guys. I miss that part of it. But I think the biggest thing in any athlete will tell you, the competition level, the height of what your mental has to do as well as your physical. I miss that, and hard to feed that.
I can imagine. Did you ever play with Robin Ventura? Did you ever go against him? Or
I faced him one time in spring training. He's a few years younger than I am, and so it was kind of at the very end of my career where I went over to the White Sox and had to throw a couple innings, and I think I faced him one time in spring training. I couldn't tell you if he got a hit or not, or if I struck him out. But what's neat is being from Santa Maria and having so many good players that have reached that level. It is a small community, but again, I think it's something that we're all proud of, being from Santa Maria and having to been able to get to the highest level.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I've always wondered about stars is that you're this big star, and then you're not playing professional baseball anymore. And I know that's really hard for a lot of people. How did you adjust? How was your transitional period?
It was easy.
Was it really?
It was real easy. I think stars somewhat of a misconception. I guess when you perform in an auditorium or on a stage or in a movie, you become a different person, and to block everything out, to focus on what you want to do at the highest level, you tend to do that. But I was always, especially for my parents, was that we're still from Santa Maria, you're still a local boy. Just because you were able to achieve a high goal doesn't change anything. Mm-hmm. And I made that very important for me to still be Smitty, to still be able to come back, but also enjoyed everybody wants to be the star. But there's a sacrifice with that. And what I tell people is if you become a professional, you have sacrificed your soul. Baseball became my life. So I had to give up my family. I had to give up everything that I had in Santa Maria to go on to a career. And but again, once the career's over, back to Santa Maria.
Boy, that's great. You're down to earth, Smitty.
Well, and all my friends remind me of that too. Okay, so what? That's over with. You're old now. Doesn't matter what you did. You still owe me $2 for the golf game.
Okay, gotcha. Well, the other thing I wanted to ask, I heard there's a few tricks to the trade. So maybe I'm using the wrong terminology, but what are some of the things you baseball players do to maybe tweak the game a little bit?
Well, those are locked away very, very deep. But we have an old saying in baseball: if you're not cheating, you're not trying. You have to get an edge. There's physical ways, there's mental ways, but there's our ways to make this baseball do some different things. And there's a great art to it as well. I do some things to kind of share that with people. But if for you baseball fans, we all know Gaylord Perry, who was the master at the spitball. And there was an art to that as well on where he kept it, what different solutions that he used to make the ball do different things. Hitters see spin, and they recognize very well spin. So what we're trying to do is make the ball move a different way than what it's supposed to. And the only way to do that is to be able to somewhat doctor the baseball a little bit. My saying is that there's a big guy at the home plate there with a big old bat in his hand, and he's trying to take my head off. So, I've got to be able to get somewhat of an advantage as well.
Well, what do you do exactly? What do you do with that ball?
Well, basically there's a two-seam fastball, which is held with two seams, and we call this two seams. At an angle, this ball will move in sync. What people hear now is a four-seam fastball, which is across all four seams. When the ball's rotating this way, it's spinning with four seams. This is the fastest pitch you can throw. It's the straightest pitch that's thrown. To decelerate or to slow the baseball down, we put the ball back in our hand, and we actually slow the rotation down by putting the ball deeper in your hand. Therefore, change-ups, curveballs. This creates a different spin, a tighter spin. Tony Gwynn always told me that he could see a color. And the ball is white, the seams are red. So when the ball spun at a different rate, it made a shade of pink. And I told him he was crazy. But the whole idea, again, behind this is that there are different ways to make this ball move. And it's important for a pitcher to know which way it's going, because if he doesn't, it can create some trouble. But I was basically a sinker ball guy, and my money pitch was a changeup, and it was called a palm ball, which is not thrown at all. There's different ways to do it.
Boy, okay. So now we know there are a few tricks to the trade.
Well, and on the other side of it, the hitter now, if you watch Major League Baseball now, they have a big arm guard up here, they have a shoulder pad, they have gloves, they have a huge bat. And therefore, pitchers are at a disadvantage at some point, I think, because the game has changed in that way. I can't intentionally, or I can't say move a player off the plate in order to get to the other side of the plate because I'd hit them. And when that happens, then as we see now, there's brawls, there's people are getting suspended, that kind of thing, over basically a purpose pitch that again, we're trying to get an advantage as the pitcher.
Okay, makes sense. Did you ever have any interesting conversations with the catcher in between the game?
There's so much going on in game. When I throw a pitch to a hitter, I throw a pitch to get a read, to find out if he's aggressive, is he looking, there needs to be a tell some point so I can go to the next one. The catcher is basically the guy that I rely upon. I was able to play with Gary Carter, great Hall of Famer who's passed away. The catcher that I worked with the best was probably Mike Fitzgerald. So we were on the same page. There's a story I tell. My hair is gone since then, but I used to wear a cover or comb my hair to the side. And there was a game in Atlanta that was very hot. I was perspiring heavily, but my hair was sticking out of my head and on the side of almost on my shoulder. And so Fitzy calls timeout right in the middle of this game. And he comes running out to the mound. He goes, "Hey, listen." He goes, "Your hair's sticking out the side of your head. You need to put it back under your hat because it's driving me crazy." And he turned around and ran back to home plate. Called the pitch. I threw the pitch. It was a key situation, ground ball, double play. We got out of the inning. Well, the media, the press after the game they come up and they say, "Well, it looked like your catcher was really, giving you a hard one to, really kind of reaming you." And I said, "Well, there was a cosmetic issue that we had, but we were just trying to break the momentum a little bit." But you rely a lot on them. Okay. And, once you trust them and they trust you, then it's fun.
Then it's a real game.
It's definitely a game.
So tell us now what you're up to now. I was reading in the paper that you're working on Morrison Park, and you're trying to basically give back to the community for all the wonderful things that happen for you. Is that right?
No question. Baseball has become my life, and it did that years ago. I've always felt that it's given me an opportunity to not only fulfill a dream, been able to put food on my table, but also it's given me life, and I think it's important for at least me anyway to make sure that we create the opportunity for other youth. Baseball is a great tool. It teaches you so much about life's lessons. So there was a situation that came about when I was able to step to the Orchid Babe Ruth program and be able to work with the county, and they've been a huge help in trying to redo these fields. They have some great history there, but also provide a great opportunity for kids to play on a couple nice baseball fields and fulfill that dream. I call it the field of hopes and dreams. And so I'm able now to get in their head first, and it's fun to be able to build a baseball field and get to mow the grass again and be on a field. I mean, that's where I'm most comfortable, is on a baseball field. So it's a little stressful from the family side of it because I spend more time over on the fields than I do at home. But all in all, I think, again, it's important if you've had success in something like this to make sure that you give somebody else another opportunity.
Well, I think it's really neat. You're actually doing the physical labor out there, right? I mean, you've got the shovels and you're raking.
Yeah.
And you're doing physical work out there.
Yeah, if people drive by, you might see somebody out there, and it's me. And so again, I want to try to create the fun thing is I've been able to play in a lot of great baseball stadiums, both in the minor leagues and the major leagues. And I think it would be fun to have an atmosphere around here that would kind of create its own self by having some quality fields and a nice little stadium field that could be our own Dodger Stadium, if you will. My favorite place to play is Wrigley Field, the friendly confines they call it, because the fans were closer. And so that's kind of the idea, is to create a nice close field that you'll enjoy watching your sons play, and again, create an environment where it's a fun place to go.
And how long is this project going to be for?
Probably forever, but I'm hoping on a 5-year plan to finally get. We're working on a new scoreboard on the Morrison Field now, and working again on some other ideas about some new stands and creating a practice facility as well. Baseball's changed. I think the kids it's a little bit different society now. There's a lot of other things going on, and so again, if you can create an environment where they enjoy coming out there and they're learning things and they're taking something away from it, then it's all well worth it.
And if people want to get involved in this, would they contact you, or who would they contact?
Yeah, they can contact me, Orchid Babe Ruth. You can go online. There's a website there as well. We're at the end of our first season, getting ready for the All-Stars, and so. But yeah, we encourage kids to come out and learn something about not only the game, but about themselves. I think that's the best thing that I can tell people is let the game do the work. I try to stay out of the way, basically, and again watch the kids grow, and then as there's a lot of things going on. So again, we try to create a great environment.
That's awesome. I like the way you give back to the community. That's great.
Well, without them, again, it's like any entertainment says, without the fan, we're nothing. And so I've done my time, but it's also, again, important to make sure that there's another opportunity for somebody else. There's another Matt Sauer out there from Magette High School. He's going to play professional baseball here shortly, and so we want that, again, a revolving door, and these kids a place that they can look up to and be proud of.
That's awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure having you today, Bryn, or Smitty, I should say.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me out here, and again, it's great talking at you, and if anybody ever sees me anywhere and they want to talk baseball, I'm more than happy to.
That's awesome. All right, well, thank you so much, Smitty.
You bet, my pleasure.
All right, thank you. Well, another great show with Bryn Smith. Boy, how interesting he was, wasn't he? Oh, my goodness. Anyway, I'm looking forward to our next show. It's going to be great. We're going to be talking about the Orchid Community Theater that's starting up. Mr. David Campbell is going to be joining us, and Dixie Arthur. We have about 10 to 15 people on the board, and a lot of people don't want to drive all the way to the other end of town, so we thought, hey, let's go start up an Orchid Community Theater. So that is going to be starting up we're probably thinking like October, November of this year. So if you're interested, please contact me at LeslieShowcaseOfTalent.com. It's on the internet if you're interested. And don't let anyone take your mojo. Woo!